What is our purpose here? Why are we on this planet? How can we make things which support the other species instead of destroying little less?
We cannot have an infinitely growing economy on a finite planet. And a continually growing economy can only exist if the environment is continually growing. It isn't. We have a fixed planet.
In the industrial world, we here in Germany and in Europe, we have an overconsumption that needs to be reduced for sure.
The challenge is to operate in this safe operating space of not having ecological overshoots and not having social shortfalls.
Because if we don't have a resilient life support system, if we don't live within planetary boundaries, then we can't take for granted that our life support system will continue to function in the way that we all depend on ultimately.
I think the ultimate goal is to connect with nature.
It's really about a system change. It's not about little beautifying or little nitty-gritty sustainability reporting. No, the sustainability needs to be the innovation engine for companies, for societies, actually.
So now we know, looking at the state of the world today, that we need to stay within the boundaries of the planet. And we can only do that by making significant progress in two main areas: our non-living environment and our living environment. Our non-living environment consists of material and energy flows. We must stop polluting, detoxify products, and end the one-way consumption of material resources. The challenge is to keep resources circulating through the economy without creating waste. This is the circular economy.
Nowadays, often sustainability is discussed on political level, which is very important, but it's often forgotten that it has and it needs a material basis. If you look around, everything in the room you are, if you are outside, the clothing you have, the creams you are using, shampoo, everything is material.
To meet our needs, we move materials, metals, sand, water and chemicals around the globe. But their movement is linear and irreversibly wastes some of our finite supply of materials. We need to move these materials in closed loops.
It's important to understand that there are two different types of products. Things which get consumed, which are changed chemically, physically, biologically. They need to be designed to degrade. They need to be designed that you can burn them in your fireplace without any filter. So this is the biosphere. So when you have stuff which gets consumed by abraded, it needs to be designed for biological systems.
For example, if it's a pharmaceutical or part of your shampoo, it's clear. It's going into the water. If it's not removed there, in the sewage treatment plant, for example, then we have to make sure that it's fast and fully mineralizing, degrading to carbon dioxide and water. If it's a chemical that's used or product within industry, and there is no chance that it can go out into the environment, then we should make it as stable as possible, because then we can use and reuse it again and again.
When you look at a car, the only consumption parts are the tires and the brake pads, actually. That's it. Everything else stays intact. So you can use it again and again, but you need to design it for that purpose. You need to have a true design for reincarnation.
This includes the energy we use, for electricity or heat, which must be renewable. Its production must not harm the environment or destabilize natural ecosystems. The second area where we need to make progress is in our living natural environment, where we need to create conditions that are conducive to life.
Okay, biodiversity. It's other ways, it's the scientific way of talking about nature. Biodiversity is nature, and biodiversity is the fabric of life.
Essentially, it is about the integrity and functioning of ecosystems and their biodiversity, the interconnectedness of natural life. Because the more diverse the physical arrangement of an ecosystem, and the more diverse the species living within it, And the more diverse the genetic differences within a species is, the better its resilience to environmental changes. And resilient ecosystems will continue to safeguard the natural basis of life. By pollinating crops, by ensuring soil fertility, and so much more that we depend on. Biodiversity is the engine of life.
Biodiversity is also an insurance. So if we have more species, more habitats, some of them will be able to respond better, say, to a severe flood than others, and others in that system will be able to respond better to a severe drought. So if you have more of those different species in the different habitats, they're kind of like an insurance allowing you to respond to whatever extremes are coming in.
Ecosystems are in danger around the world. Land use change, our conversion of natural landscapes, has an immense impact. Natural areas are lost to meet the demand for housing, food, and raw materials. Natural habitats are being destroyed, and precious ecosystems are being degraded.
Part of the biodiversity loss comes from the intensification of management actions, particularly in agriculture systems, where we use more pesticides and more fertilizers to produce more quantity with less quality. And the runoff of nitrogen, phosphorus, is changing the natural cycles.
If we keep up this system of like massively industrialized agriculture, it's having such a detrimental effect on so many aspects of the surrounding landscape that we, with our massive pesticide use, we are kind of destroying the ability for all these fantastic pollinators to live out there in the surrounding landscape. With that distraction, it means that this positive service of the pollination is starting to disappear. And as long as there are some species like honeybees that can still provide that pollination service, we're okay. But maybe you've heard, but like in China, they now partly hand-pollinate many trees or many plants because they've created a condition where all that biodiversity has disappeared because of what they've done to the landscape. So we don't want to get into that state. So even if you want to be egotistical, in the end, you're kind of shooting yourself in the leg, because the system to function needs all the different components and the interactions.
The key to halting and reversing biodiversity loss is therefore to conserve those ecosystems that are still intact and to restore habitats around the world. Ultimately, the issue is one of balance between human societies and natural ecosystems.
Ecosystems, which means biodiversity, nature, are interlinked to society by providing benefits, material or non-material. And society responds to that by conserving nature, degrading nature, taking different management actions.
We need to learn to be good for this planet. We need to learn to become native to this planet, and we need to learn to be a part of the whole nature, not just the nature and us. Us is nature, yeah? And nature is us.
There are 3 strategies to staying within the limits of our living and non-living environments: efficiency, consistency, and sufficiency. So, what do these terms mean exactly? Let's call the pursuit of efficiency the cactus strategy. A cactus growing in the desert has a problem. Water is scarce. So it has to be efficient in using the water available to it. For a building, efficiency means having a heating system that uses less energy, or having better insulation.
You can reduce the amount of resources which are extracted from the natural world and go into the economy for every unit of goods or services produced. That's efficiency, so kind of less wasteful use of resources.
Improvements in efficiency allow us to reduce our impact on the environment while still producing the things we need. So the question is, how can we get more value from the same amount of resources? The next crucial strategy is consistency, the circular strategy. Plants are biodegradable. An oak tree, for example, is highly inefficient. It produces thousands of acorns, most of which do not grow into trees. But because they decompose naturally, it's not a problem. In nature, there is no waste. Acorns become nutrients, which an organism needs to survive and grow. Consistency means thinking of used product materials as nutrients for making new products.
Traditionally, people still think from cradle to grave. But when we do so, we are too many people on this planet, because the whole planet will become a graveyard. We need to learn to think from cradle to cradle. But this means we need to learn that we can do things which are good, not just less bad. So it's about celebrating human footprint instead of minimizing footprint. Let's have a big footprint, but make it a wetland, beneficial for the other species as well. This means everything is nutrition. Food, detergents, shoe soles, brake pads need to be designed to go into biological systems, to be good for the systems, not just not toxic. And things which are just services, like washing machines, like TV sets, need to be designed to be technical nutrients.
So the products of the future should contain the lowest number of different constituents. Because the more different they are, the easier we can separate them within a recycling process.
Making products that can be recycled is a first step. But we also need to design products so that they can be easily repaired and reused before they need to be recycled. Consistency keeps materials circulating in the economy and avoids the need to mine new raw materials. This strategy therefore requires new ways of doing business. Efficiency and consistency strategies are not enough for humanity to live sustainably within planetary boundaries. The size of the economy is also crucial. A third crucial strategy, the sufficiency strategy, is needed. Let's call it the island strategy. On an island, space and resources are limited, and it can only support a finite amount of life. The number of animals on the island is adapted to the environmental conditions. On Earth, this means people must live within the planetary boundaries that constrain our activities.
Sufficiency is essentially saying, how big does our economy need to be? What is enough? What is the right size of our economy? Do we really want to live the way that we live? We know that consuming more goods and services isn't actually making us any happier. Like happiness levels, subjective happiness levels sort of peaked in the 1970s in most places in the global north. Despite the fact the economy has tripled in size since then, people aren't getting any happier. And we're still working 40, 50 hours a week. We're stressed, we're unhappy, our social relations are poor. So no, we can't consume the same things we're consuming now, but potentially we can live much better while consuming less.
So it's not about doing without. It's about changing the way we live. It's about getting rid of excess. It's about slowing down. For you, as a consumer, that might mean slow fashion, buying a jacket that you can wear for years and years. It could also mean taking a yoga class in your hometown instead of flying to the Caribbean for a beach holiday. It means getting to know and appreciate what your region has to offer. For businesses, it could mean shorter supply chains. Apples don't have to come from overseas. There are old heirloom varieties that are full of flavor and increase biodiversity. How do these three strategies fit together? Imagine a car that we want to make more sustainable. Efficiency would mean that the car uses less fuel per kilometer or has an electric motor. Consistency would mean that the car could be easily dismantled after use, so that all materials could be reused or recycled. All its parts that wear out would be biodegradable. The microparticles released into the environment from tire abrasion would have to be non-toxic. Sufficiency would mean that, instead of being parked 95% of the time, cars would be shared. This would dramatically reduce their impact on the environment while maintaining individual mobility. The combination of these strategies, which create an efficient, recyclable car used by a number of people as a part of a mobility service, achieves the highest level of sustainability in individual mobility. These three strategies, derived from a natural science perspective on sustainability, are key to our living within planetary boundaries.
So the challenge is to find innovative solutions that help us overall to become more effective in a combination of these different approaches, or maybe with even further approaches.
One idea that's currently sort of starting to take off in sustainability science is the idea of regeneration. And the idea of regeneration really is that a lot of complex systems have the innate capacity to renew themselves and to basically regenerate over and over. So for example, my body can regenerate if I sleep enough, if I eat healthy things, then my body can regenerate. Or we can see that ecosystems can regenerate after a wildfire, for example. Or soils can regenerate even in agricultural land use if the agriculture is using the land in an appropriate way. Then basically soil biomass can build up through time rather than be depleted. So regenerative ways of managing systems are really a new frontier and an important frontier in sustainability, science and practice.
From a social science perspective, the challenge is to create sustainability transformations that are compatible with societal needs. Transforming the economy in line with the Earth's carrying capacity ultimately leads to changes in lifestyles and consumption. This goes hand in hand with creating a society that guarantees peace, justice, equal opportunities, education for all, freedom of expression, and the right to participate. From a global political perspective, nations and supranational entities, such as the European Union, must all become sustainable. This requires good governance and international agreements with sustainable regulatory and legal frameworks. From a local perspective, businesses, municipal governments, community-based organizations, and many others, together with individuals, must work toward greater sustainability.
So the whole field of citizen participation has for a very long time been linked to environmental protection. Citizens often have intimate knowledge of their own environments. So if we involve citizens from the local level, they can help devise regulations that are adapted to local contexts. The more participatory a process is, the more likely it is that it also benefits the environment.
Sustainability is achieved by the creation of global and local solutions to economic growth in an intact natural environment.
Oftentimes, with sustainability, we try to find the silver bullet and one solution that fits it all. I think this is the mistake. So who is responsible? We are all responsible. I mean, we cannot rely only on institutions, meaning decision makers, policy makers, but we cannot rely only on individuals' behavior. It's both. We need both.
It is also crucial to ask, what concepts do we have? What methods and approaches do we have? And how should we work together to bring about change? Sustainability involves wicked problems that are highly complex and dynamic. Their causes are intertwined, and their effects play out in different places and over time. Greenhouse gases are emitted locally in many different ways, but they warm the climate globally. Because of this complexity, we cannot solve sustainability problems from a single perspective. Different actors need to work together.
Not just the way that we generate knowledge about the world should be co-produced between scientists and non-scientists, but that the non-scientists should have a role in formulating the problems we face, because it makes sure we don't repeat the mistakes in the past of this kind of, if you like, colonial mindset of, we understand the problem, we'll provide a solution for you. Other people have understandings of the problems which you also need to acknowledge.
We need to drive sustainability transformation in every area of life. What can governments do to promote sustainability?
Governments can almost do everything, They cannot, for example, develop technology themselves, or they cannot change consumer behavior. But what they can do is they can set the boundary conditions. They can incentivize actors, consumers, to refrain from unsustainable behavior, or to lead them or to foster more sustainable behavior.
Governments design policies for taxation and subsidies and for regulations and laws that can restrict unsustainable practices and promote sustainable development. Sustainability needs to be managed. Sustainability management analyzes the key sustainability issues that organizations create and face. It develops concepts and methods to help people transform their organizations to become sustainable. This includes all departments, from procurement to production, logistics and marketing, as well as strategy development, infrastructure, and the final products and services that companies offer.
A key lever to change a conventional business to a sustainable business is to transform the business model towards a sustainable business model. And by moving from selling products towards selling services that are connected to products, the value proposition can very often be made much more sustainable. An easy example would be moving from selling cars to selling mobility services.
The customer basically just becomes a material bank. Yeah? You are no longer selling a washing machine, you're selling 3,000 times of washing. So you pay per wash. For the manufacturer can use the best material for the customer. Instead of 80 cheap types of plastics, you can use 4 types of plastics. For this washing machine, it's much cheaper to make it because you can use the best stuff, not the cheapest one.
Sustainable transformation requires entrepreneurship.
The idea of sustainable entrepreneurship is that by proposing something that's sustainable and more convincing to customers, but also to other stakeholders, you make the unsustainable products and services and organizations obsolete. And that pushes the unsustainable organizations, products and services out of the market and replaces them with the new sustainable solutions.
In agriculture, for example, the goal is to move away from an intensive and industrial production of food to a way of farming that builds rich soil, increases biodiversity, and produces healthy and affordable food. In transportation, the goal is to move away from environmentally harmful and depletable resources toward harmless and renewable energies. What can environmental NGOs and the media do? Non-governmental organizations and the media can help communicate scientific findings to a wider audience and support informed democratic debate.
NGOs can bring the attention of customers to new aspects of sustainable development. NGOs can also help to raise the expectations or the reference point of consumers. We frequently see that it's very important what standards consumers do have in mind. And NGOs can be very powerful players in setting these standards, these mental expectations that consumers have.
What can we do as individuals? In addition to voting for the parties with pro-environmental policies or joining sustainability initiatives, we can all change what and how we consume.
Most consumers are interested in sustainability. However, in the situation of purchasing goods, other aspects such as the price of goods are more important to consumers. So what companies can do is make information on the sustainability of products available to consumers at the purchase decision, so for example in supermarkets or in online shops.
Being informed about what we buy and how we travel not only makes a small contribution to sustainability, it sends a signal to others that we all need to work toward a sustainability transformation. And it can improve our own quality of life. More physical activity and a healthier diet, as well as a stronger sense of community and a better connection with nature and the future. What contribution can research and education make?
It's very important and increasingly important that we communicate between different groups very effectively. Because that's where the gold is, right? We need to work together. The practice partners need to be doing their different actions and the scientists need to somehow interact with them enough to standardize some of these actions into experiments so we can then really assess them.
Research can provide much-needed solution-oriented approaches, practices and technologies. Knowledge gained through research must be disseminated through educational institutions to reach as many people as possible to ensure that citizens and decision makers are well informed. The problems we face are immense, and we must respond immediately. But changes in social systems take time.
So many of the problems that we're now facing, like greenhouse gas emissions, like unsustainable energy transport, agricultural systems, they are sort of so deeply entrenched in practices, in society, in habits, that it's so difficult to change it just like that.
But that doesn't mean we have to wait. Now is the time to look for innovative solutions, fully aware that success may not be immediate, but all the more committed to achieving it as soon as possible. International cooperation is urgently needed. The global community must agree on and pursue common goals. Skepticism is justified, but we've been here before. In the 1980s, CFC chemicals used in spray cans and refrigerators were causing a growing hole in the ozone layer in the atmosphere, which protects life on the planet from harmful UV radiation. Representatives from many countries met and agreed to ban the use of these harmful chemicals. The ozone layer began to slowly recover, ending one of the most pressing environmental problems of the time.
This is sort of one of the success stories in global environmental governance because it actually succeeded in significantly reducing the emission of these substances.
It is the interaction and the sum of these different actors that, when they pull into the same direction, then we can hopefully achieve a more sustainable future.
Education is the key to solving sustainability problems effectively. Before anything else, we need a deep understanding of the complex causes of sustainability challenges. Only then can we take effective action.
Leuphana University is the first university in Europe with sustainability faculty. It's still the only university that has a whole school of sustainability. We have people from various different disciplines interacting with each other. And second of all, we have very good links towards practice, political practice, societal practice, public practices, but also corporate practices, in order to support them to deal with this complexity and to find better solutions that really effectively contribute to sustainable development.
You need a quiet atmosphere to think profoundly, and you need to be able to question everything that is around you. This is why Lüneburg definitely is one of the best places for sustainability in the world. Yeah.
Sustainability is an opportunity for all of us. It is a cornerstone of a meaningful life.
For me, sustainability is also inner work, taking care of yourself, taking care of the community and other human beings, and taking care of nature. I always say, go to the forest, go for a walk to the forest. Get surprised by the small things like fungus, mushroom, a flower, dragonfly, and go with friends to the forest. I think the ultimate goal is to connect with nature.
As soon as we celebrate life and humans on this planet as an opportunity, they behave like that. Yeah? And that's important to understand. So people want to see purpose, they want to be proud of what's going on.
Imagine something that could be more interesting than contributing to a better society and a better natural environment. I cannot imagine anything.